all main infraorders of Diptera already existed in the Triassic. But there are still very few, species, and apart from the main lineages, we also have some very, very bizarre and strange flies that we cannot actually put anywhere on a tree in the history of life. But apart from describing a new wings, which are basically what you got mostly when you deal with the compression fossils, in recent years, people start working with immature stages. And that's what's more exciting, much more exciting, because it gives you insight into the biology, into the life history of the flies. So Gresa Volse, it's the oldest known formation in France and Germany, on the border of France and Germany, that produces fossil Diptera. And about a dozen species were described in there, including these very strange but very common fly there, Graphogelia atzvilliana. So we don't know what it is. Supposedly, it's related to some Psychodomorpha. It has this very strange loop that is formed by a second anal vein. So some people believe that it's a most primitive Diptera. I don't think so. But apart from almost 100 wings like that, we've got 120 or 150 pupas from that in the same locality. So, and they've been finally described. So it takes a lot of meticulous work and a lot of knowledge of immature stages to actually identify immature stage. But the authors hypothesized that these pupas are actually pupas of Graphogelia, because the shape of the wing sheath, size, is is very similar, and it fits almost perfectly. So, which means Graphogelia most probably were had an aquatic or semi-aquatic lifestyle. From the same locality, you've got even more larvae. So those are chironomids, and another unidentified chironomoidae. So from the middle Triassic, we already have those quite advanced the lineages of chironomoidae. And more importantly, most of those larvae are metapneustic, which means that they would, if they lived in their lifestyle, they would most probably be linked with the semi-aquatic or decomposing matter, so they lived inside, just like from a lot of tipulids, for example, or limoniates. So from slightly younger deposits in the Central Asia and then uppermost Triassic, we've got first known chiaborids. So by Triassic time, by the end of Triassic, we already have two main lineages of Culicomorpha. This is another locality, also Anisian, also European, but in Mallorca. So it's people love going to Mallorca to collect fossil insects. Unfortunately, they're very rare there. So it first been mentioned in 1980s in a PhD dissertation of a Spanish student, and never found ever since. Diptera never found ever since there until very recent, a few trips, where when they found those magnificent larvae with a absolutely amazing preservation. So when you look at that, they're almost exactly like anisopodids. So, but because we don't have anisopodids in Triassic, most probably those are the larvae of protorhynchids, which are ancestors of anisopodids from one side and hypothesized ancestors of the brachycerans. And the last group that I want to talk about is this so-called brachycerans. So in the lowermost Triassic, again, in Vagases, in Gressa Formation, and the Newark Formation in North America, from those two localities we know, what were described as the first brachycerans. A couple of my friends, Michael Mostovsky and Lena Lukashevich, re-described and re-studied, revisited those fossils, and they proved quite convincingly. So those fossils are not real brachycerans, although they have brachyceran venation. So you see that you can see clearly the closed anal cell and antenna with a flagellum, but it's still not a real brachyceran antenna. So what happened in the Triassic? The brachycerization or evolution of the true flies happened independently in several lineages, and probably only one survived. But in the Triassic, we have several groups that almost made it to the brachycerans. So that's why they belong to the so-called stem group brachyceran. Well, most progress in the fossil fly studies in the recent years linked with the ambers. That's where we see the most people describing new species and finding absolutely amazing stuff. Cretaceous is a very interesting time of in the history of life. Not only there are lots of big dinosaurs roaming around, but from the entomologist's point of view, Cretaceous is a time when we get first truly fossiliferous ambers. So ambers or fossil resins are known since Carboniferous time, 300 million years ago. Basically, from when the first trees started, they produce some resin and it fossilizes. And there are some inclusions there, but mostly it's micro inclusions. It was not before the lowermost Cretaceous when we get real macro inclusions, real insects in fossil resins. Nobody knows why it happens. I suspect, well, and other people hypothesize that it has something to do with the properties of the resin and the flows and the liquidity of that. But something happened to the chemistry of the resin of the trees, or resin producing trees, in the Cretaceous. Then it finally allowed for insects to get stuck and embedded and buried and preserved in there. And the most interesting and most prolific locality that we know now is that one, Burmese or Myanmar amber. It aged about 100 million years old, right on the border of Lower and Upper Cretaceous, and it is the gift that keeps on giving. It's not the largest locality in the world. We can come back to that later, but it certainly has a potential to be the to produce the most diverse fauna, fossil fauna we ever know. So, and that is something that's been published just 2 weeks ago. Just when I was preparing the presentation, I got notification of that paper. That is something that completely blew my mind. Deuterophlebids. We don't have that in Britain. But basically, it is a Dipterist mayfly. So they larvae live in the mountain streams, very cold, very aerated. They're like limpets attached to the stones, and when adults emerge, they only live for a few hours. Even the venation and the shape of the wing is resemblant, and shape of the body resemblant of the mayflies. So females have two long sessae, just like mayflies. So we never know. It's because the nation is so bizarre and so modified. It's very difficult to put it anywhere in the world. Molecular analysis puts it as a sister group to the rest of the Diptera. Strangely enough, Rodendorf puts it as a most basal Diptera as well, but he didn't provide any justification for that. He just liked it. Yeah. But now we had those two little flies in the Burmese amber. So Protoditterphlebia and Cretoditterphlebia. So this is a venation, and you can see that now we can make links from modern Ditterphlebids to the Henigmatids, which is a very, very basic cyclodomorphans known from the Triassic to the lower Cretaceous. So there's a lot of hypomorphism going on there, but it is absolutely amazing how the fossils, particularly well-preserved fossils in the amber, can provide those missing links that we cannot go anywhere. When it comes to the geography, yes, Kenigmatids are known from the Triassic to the Cretaceous from all over the world, but Ditterphlebids is restricted basically to the Eastern Asia and Western North America, which, well, could be remnants and refugia of the Kenigmatids. Another very strange family, Blepharisaurids. It's not as rare in fossil record as Ditterphlebids. There were a few species known before, but all from the compression fossils, which means mostly reinvenation. So this is a first real Blepharisauridae, so the most advanced subfamily of the Blepharisaurids. And look at this magnificent preservation of the genitalia. It's even better than you have on a slide. Of course, yeah, because you've got 3 dimensions. So, and that gives us also an insight on the evolution of these bizarre family. And surprise, surprise, it also comes back to Henigmatids through that Jurassic fly of the family Anzorgiidae. So modifying the venation a little bit, but the basic structure of the genitalia and the body and the legs of Anzorgiids are the same as recent Blepharisaurids. So that is something that helps us to resolve this enigma of the blepharosauride and or Dipterist that Rodendorf posted almost 80 years ago. Another family, that's my favorite. A few months ago, we mentioned that. So when a Chinese and a couple of Polish colleagues of mine contacted me and asked, what do I think about that? The answer was immediate. So that is Plesa von Gevorit. That family been known from for again 100 years, no, since yeah, more than 100 years, and only from the compression fossils. So we don't know anything about them except that they have two spermathecae and a lot of different wings and venations. So those are basal skyroid, probably related in some way to babyonids, babyanamophon, babyanoids, and maybe boletophilids. But it's the same principle applied as we saw with stem group of Brachycera. So in Jurassic and lower Moss Cretaceous, the parallel evolution in different lineages of skyroid, basal skyroid happened, which which showed almost exactly the same trends in the evolution of venation. That is why it's so exciting to find that fly in 3 dimension and study the actual body characters. It turns out to be more interesting than that. So if you see the Phortazi, they expanded, like in many skyroid or other flies that are related in the life history with fungi and mushrooms. And even more interestingly, we know it's quite a common fly in Burmese amber. So the Chinese co-author had only 1 or 2 specimens, but then it turns out that a colleague of mine had more than 20 in his collection, but all of them are females. There are no males whatsoever. So it's it's quite a remarkable find. So there are very few cases with the recent flies, for example, Chiroplatus testaceus, also that only is known by females only. And the last of not least, 2020, we published a molecular phylogeny of chiroplatids, which nested Ligisterinids deep inside the chiroplatidae. Ligisterinidae is a fungus nuts with a very long proboscis, very long legs, very gracile body, beautiful flies, but venation presented by only a few longitudinal veins. So you don't really know what they are. But Tomikoski in 1966, hypothesized that Ligisterinids are actually related to chiroplatids, but nobody believed him until those molecular study came in. And surprise, surprise, few weeks later, Neil Avenius described this beautiful fly, which has the venation intermediate between Cheiroplatid and Ligosteroinid. So it's basically a Ligosteroinid based, made based on the Cheiroplatid. So just if you remove that small R3 plus 2, that will be a Ligosteroinid. Yeah. So and that's not the only case. The Burmese amber is full of surprises. When in 2007 we made a monograph of the fossil skyroid in fossil ambers, we excluded Cheiroplatids specifically because there were so many bizarre Cheiroplatids in Burmese amber, so we simply didn't know what to do with them. But now, when the new data accumulates, finally we can start doing that. Okay, so I promise you the last one. That is the last one. So it's undescribed, and my friend sent it to me. I suspect this is Paraximid, which is a basal most Bibianamorpha, that is precursor, that is ancestor of both Bibionids and Skyroidae. But looking at that, it's also maybe an ancestor of Ditamides, well, which is not surprising because Ditamides now is the group that is sister group to the rest of fungus nuts. All right, that's enough of Cretaceous. No, it's not, because we can't go without brachycerans. No, I don't like brachycerans. I don't like that, but you can't just miss it. And when I said that's not that Burmese amber is a gift that keeps on giving, yeah, that's what I meant. In 10 years, you've got more than 100 species of 28 families of brachycerans. There are several monographs published on that. And I won't dwell on all of them, except for those. Yes, this is my favorite. This is an Alavesia, a genus of Telestids that been described first from the Spanish amber, the Low Cretaceous Spanish amber, but the diversity of this genus just in the Burmese amber is absolutely mind-blowing. Look at those antennae. This is just one genus. Yeah. Okay. Enough. So. The last period I want to talk about is the Paleogene. And why it is important? Because we are coming to the recent time, it's more and more resembling the contemporary fauna, contemporary landscapes, contemporary ecosystems. And Eocene and Paleocene is the time of so-called Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. That is the time from 50 to about 35 million years ago, when average temperatures on Earth were 6 to 10 degrees higher than now. That was a time when you can find warm-tempered forest beyond the polar circle. And at the border of Oligocene, the temperature suddenly dropped 5 degrees. And from hothouse, the Earth entered the cold house, and we are still living in it. So the importance of the faunas of transition of the PETM cannot be underestimated for the modern studies of climate. And fortunately, we've got lots and lots of localities that make the entire transition from there. One of the recent one is that Kishinev Formation in Montana. It is slightly older than the more famous Florissant and Green River, Oligocene location, so it's Eocene, and it's actually under investigation. But what is important about these studies, that in the series of papers, Dale Greenwald didn't attempt to describe all the diptera himself. No, he assembled a team of experts. Yeah, he employed people who really know the modern fauna, and that makes they took the descriptions of the species and understanding of that fauna to the completely different level. And the same we attempted to do with the Isle of Wight locality. So it's about a contemporary of the Baltic amber. So we discovered, redescribed 74 species of 32 families in there, and it took more than 10 years coordinating that paper that's finally published. Okay, the last one, I promise. So that's my favorite. Baltic amber. I don't know where to start, because that is the largest locality of fossil flies. That the Baltic amber is the largest locality of the mamba, and estimated amount is from 100 to 200,000 tons. So you can cover the entire central London, 10-meter deep in that, just in this amber. So, and that was the first amber that's not been studied in the history, and that's the first from which we know the inclusions. So the history of Skyroid starts 150 years ago with Georg Behrendt, who was a physician, a German physician and paleontologist. In 1930s, 1940s, he amassed a collection of the Baltic amber, and again distributed between experts. One of those experts was Hermann Löw, one of the most acclaimed dipterologists of all times. Sadly, Löw didn't finish his job. He just put a few names on it, on that collection, made a lot of identification, but he had enormous material. Francis Minier in beginning of 20th century continues his work, but he didn't know Diptera very well. His description are abysmal. So sorry, but that is. But in the end, what we have was Skyroid without scarits and without Cicidemides, just fungus nuts. 258 names. So in the last 17 years, I was trying to clean up that mess. And finally, it's a little bit there is a light in the end of the tunnel. So of 258 names, we have 443 nomina nuda, 48 nomina dubia. So meaning that the type is lost and we cannot identify anything. 53 new combinations, six new synonyms, and so on, and new species, including we had to select 3 neotypes for those 3 beautiful flies. Why it is important? 30 years ago, when I started doing fossil insects, I realized that while you can do whatever you want with the Mesozoic flies, because nobody knows what they are, and they are very, very different from now. So if you want to describe anything with the Cenozoic in Oligocene or in any ambers, in contemporary ambers, you have to clean up that mess first. So you have to know what they are. So, and it's important not only for the fossils, but for the recent as well. So this is a flies. This is a Dianepsia, very common fly, known from the Baltic amber. And in when I started recently sorting and studying that material from South America, Peru and Chile, I suddenly realized that some of those flies are exactly the same. So Eisenmeer was described by Duret from from Chile, and but of course he didn't know anything about fossil insects. So, but they bear remarkable similarity to Dianepsia. And surprise, surprise, there is a real Dianepsia in Peru as well. So how did that happen? I've no idea. That's not the links, biogeographical links between the Baltic amber fauna and South America are very, very scarce. There are very few examples of the taxa that occur in Eocene of Europe and South America, but there are still. So, for example, Paleodecosia, it was described, the genus that was described in the fossil from the Baltic amber first, but now we've and known so far only from the Palearctic and probably Nearctic, but now we've got it in South America as well. Sinafa, that is combined genus and always been a waste basket, but there is a there is a group of species common between the Baltic amber and Peru and Andean the region. Look, even down to those spines on the gonostyle as the same. So there's a lot of discoveries, and I'm sure that the next years will bring even more exciting material. Oh, okay, so I stop ranting. Thank you very much.
So I think I should probably apologize to Vlad, because asking you to do that in 20 minutes was an impossible task. So
I just wanted to show as many beautiful pictures as possible.
Do we have questions for Vlad? No, we're going to crack on. Happy with that? Oh, we've got a question from Martin.
To find a fossil. As I live down on the Jurassic coast, I've got plenty of early Cretaceous and Jurassic stuff. Poke around in. Ichthyosaur, but I find a fly.
But yeah, sorry, our hand mics aren't working, Vlad.
So, how easy is to find the fossil flies? Yeah. So, fossil insects are actually quite common, and it's relatively easy to find them. Basically, when you split the rocks, if it's a right layer, there will be fossil insects, but you need to have an eye for that. It doesn't take long, but you have to see it, and because there are different types of preservations, there are different ways to see it. Sometimes you need the very strong sunlight. Sometimes you need because it's only a relief, so you need a shadow to see that, and you have to know the difference between the insect, for example, and the plant remains. But it is possible. Yeah, Jurassicus is a very very common name, and there's ambers there as well. Yeah.
Okay, so for the next field meeting, there'll be fossil safari as well.